Welcome everyone, this is the Rocket.Chat Engineering Podcast. I'm Rodrigo Nascimento, Rocket.Chat CTO and founder, and your host on this weekly podcast. Here we talk about the news on engineering areas from the past week. I have with me today our backend leader and co-founder, Diego Sampaio.
Hello there.
Our apps engine leader, Douglas Gilbert.
Yo, folks.
Our cloud leader, Aaron Ugo.
Hello, everybody.
Our front-end leader, Guilherme Gazzo.
Whee!
Our mobile leader, Diego Mello.
Hey guys.
And a new participant today, our Omnichannel engineer, Murtaza Pratawala.
Hey, hello guys.
Hello and welcome. So let's get started on this episode today. And one news from my side is about past week we recorded our first episode of the Rocket Science podcast with the participation of the Apps Engine team. We covered the removal of the TypeScript compiler from the Rocket.Chat instances and the details about the under development still permission system. So it was a pretty nice episode, and check that out. And I hope that you have many others like that to go deep in some subjects, more technical details, and maybe some other areas from Rocket.Chat doing the same on this Rocket Science podcast. It's available already on YouTube and Spotify, and will be available soon on Apple Podcasts. It's under review as well. So it's a completely new podcast. It's not together with this one. So check it there. So we don't have any new releases or patch releases this week. The end of this week, you're going to have the beginning of the release candidate, I guess. And yeah, let's start with Diego Sampaio from the Backhand to talk more about what's going on there.
All right. So we have been still working on the storage integration. We hope to have that finished by this week, in time to the current release. Also, there are some LDAP fixes coming this week as well. We fixed an issue on group DMs when renaming users. I think I have mentioned that on the previous podcast. That's also something that will be finished by this week. On the microservices, we have implemented a way to better to improve the way it can be deployed without having to restart everything if the Rocket.Chat doesn't have the license already in place. So with this change, the deployment should be a little bit easier, or at least that step can be not missed, but can be done easier. We have also worked on a few docs of the OAuth implementation, so it will also be easier to set up OAuth servers. And talking about OAuth, we have postponed the fix or the work we have to do on the Google OAuth new rules. So we had Google had extension period to be worked on to fix that issue. Not the issue actually, to be compliant to the new rules. So we have asked that, and we will be working that on the next months.
That's because we can't do authentication with embedded browsers anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the way the previous way our apps, either the mobile app and the desktop app, used to request the OAuth from Google is not allowed anymore, or it will not be allowed anymore from Google. So you have to figure out a way to do that using external browsers. So it's a bit of exchanged information between different parts of the system.
Yeah, it's important to everyone that's using that OAuth from Rocket.Chat to request extend period as well, right? Because it's not only us as developer extending for the whole Rocket.Chat, but people that configure it using their own keys should request for their own keys this extended period, while you don't have a version that supports this external browser.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it.
Thank you. It's Storage or Storj? I still don't know.
I think that's like acronyming for like I think they try to say like you can say like exactly as a storage, so you can just say storage. Not sure if that's an acronyming. It's something like that.
And do you have it? Yeah. And do you have any news on the event there, like that event we are hosting on our cloud?
Okay. So the event, like the deployment was behaving very good. Last week we had like almost 25,000 concurrent users during peak periods, and everything was working perfectly. We haven't heard like any issue from the event hosters anymore. So I think the event will last for at least 2 weeks more, but I guess on a more like paced manner. I don't think there will be any peak usage like that, like we had before. So I think that's also good news for the microservices. We figured out that we still have work to do on the presence stuff, or how the presence service works. It can be like, depending on the usage, it can overwhelm the whole system. But without that, we saw that it's like pretty stable.
Cool, awesome. Thank you. Moving on to the apps engine. Doug, what's going on there?
So last week we released a new version of the app CLI with an improvement to our dev experience, making sure that the apps engine version is automatically synced whenever it changes in your package.json file. You should always keep in sync the package.json and the app manifest file. So now we have a way to keep those in sync automatically, which is good because we were having a lot of submissions on the marketplace with conflicting versions. And then, like, even though the apps compiled locally for the developer, when they hit the marketplace, it would get an error on the compilation, because up there we use the version on the manifest file instead of the one in the package.json. So just a way to get things to go smoother over there. Also, as Rodrigo said, we recorded and released the first episode of the Rocket Science podcast. Very excited, that we were very nervous as well, so be kind on us. And last but not least, we're still working on the permission system progress. We are working to finish the apps engine side this week so we can release. And we'll try to get like the UI implementation to get the the pop-up where you can accept the permissions of the apps you're installing up to the end of the week as well. This is kind of risky, but we'll try to get there. And that's it for us.
Cool. Awesome. And thanks for the participation to make that podcast happen, the rocket science one. It's the first of many more. I hope. Hopefully. Cool. Moving on to cloud. Aaron, what are the news there?
All right. So I guess we'll start off with some stuff that happened this weekend. Some people may find interesting. So the push gateway, we had some high latency issues over the Friday, Saturday, mostly Friday. And we kind of we had an important reminder to ourselves to make sure that we test exactly like production. We had everything matching as far as software setup, but the underlying hardware, we had an SSD in our testing versus spinning metal in production. In this particular case, we're actually using BoltDB for caching, and one of the reads was I think probably in a copy and paste when we were trying to stub it out. It had a write lock on a read, and BoltDB is one of those single write sort of things. And testing, an SSD, those reads were able to clear really fast, but in production, those piled up very quickly. So a very important reminder to ourselves, make sure your hardware matches as well in testing. That's all fixed, and it should be back to normal. Actually, was Saturday, but I just thought I would share that. It's kind of some people might find that interesting. Last week we talked about the looking at the Docker image, and Diego, he didn't say anything, but he actually right after the call last week found a tool called Dive. It's on GitHub, but W.A. Goodman is the username, and determined that one of the layers was actually basically double. When the files were added, it actually doubled the layer because of a CHOwn, a change ownership action that happened in that layer. So it's kind of an interesting discovery. And fortunately, I think it must have been an issue for other Docker users because they actually added in the add and copy commands in Docker, they now have a -- CHOwn. So you can actually change the ownership in the same step. So that was kind of a cool discovery. But yeah, the props go 100% to Diego for right after the call. I think it was within a couple of hours after he already had it fixed. So sharing the news, but all credit definitely goes to you.
Thanks. But it's actually interesting because I didn't know about that. That every I knew that every line of every line of code on a Docker file adds a new layer, but I didn't know that if you touch the files as we were doing, changing the ownership of the files, the whole content of the files is added again as a new layer to the Docker image. So yeah, the solution was just doing on a single step. So having a parameter, a property on the add command that does that on a single command was very nice.
So it's basically reduced to the half of the size with this single change, right?
Because we were changing all files again. So the add command was physically adding the files to the image, but then on another layer we were just changing the ownership, and that was also adding the content, the same content size to a new layer.
Yeah, One of those really, but that dive tool, like looking at the output, like that was super cool. You could visualize exactly what was changed in each layer. So it made it really kind of like obvious at that point, like, that's what's happening. So yeah, if you want to check it out, definitely, like if you want to optimize your images, that's a good tool to look at.
Exactly.
And I was going to mention the event, but I guess I stole yours and you stole mine, so I won't talk about the event. And finally, I think with add-ons, we're moving on to the billing aspect of the add-ons. So things are moving along, and hopefully we'll have news probably at the beginning of the year when things kind of come to a close on that. That's it for cloud.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Moving on to Frontend. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, I know that I already said this last week, but we are very close to finish the rewrite, the header rewrite at least. And the problem that we put the header to run on the open, and we found some issues because the templates were made like with some assumption that we are letting the room take care of the event for any other inner page. Then since now we removed the contextual bar, the other stuff from the original template, we were missing a lot of events like reactions or open the menus inside the message. Then we had to check for each template where the events were being used actually, and expose the events for each template. So now we are running in a decoupled way, and that's put us in a good position, because now we are like, it's more easy to finish our work, because we are like just letting these problems to the end, but actually now it is the end almost. So we had to figure out how to fix. Then yeah, I believe that it is done actually to put for the real test on the open. I just can't, because it is a development image, and we can. I'm waiting for the Docker pull to Docker Hub, because our open needs the image being exposed by the Docker Hub. But yeah, it is almost there. I'm very happy with what we have been doing here, and yeah, I hope everybody notices the difference, and not only the design, but the performance and developing the things should more structured in some way or somehow. And yeah, that's it.
Cool. Yeah. Can you maybe schedule some future work to be able to deploy images from the GitHub? I guess would be good, right, on the cloud, because then we can use the development images that we are hosting on the GitHub containers to test and open, for example, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I think we discussed this briefly over the weekend. Yeah, we should make it happen.
I saw on GitHub release notes, they are released now option to manually trigger builds on the CI as well, right? So you can like have a step that we only trigger manually. So you could do what we were doing on Cycle CI in the past, like having a manual step to trigger the image build on the Docker Hub as well. Because, just explaining, we are not putting all the images on Docker Hub to not flood the official repository with all the pull requests. And when you had the Cycle CI, you had that option to go there and click to run the build to then send the image there. We can do both ways, or I don't know, but we have two options now to solve this. Be easy to deploy or to generate images to deploy on our cloud. Let's discuss that later. Mobile. So, Melo, what's going And my Alexa is talking to me
Your Alexa
for
is
some
talking.
reason.
So last week we worked on some bug fixes and we released 4.13 on experimental apps. So if you want to try it out a week before the official apps is released to productions, go ahead. We also finished the implementation of the new jobs to generate official versions of the app from CI instead of doing it completely manually. And earlier today, we released beta versions of 4.13 completely on CI already, with using this new PR we did it, which is amazing. And this was something that will take half a day to be done on every release, and now it's just a job, so it's pretty cool. And we did it by adding a new target on iOS and by creating 2 new build flavors on Android, one for experimental apps and one for official apps. And this way we can separate not only the app icons and splash screens, but also API keys and signing, and everything is needed. There's still some work to do for the white label docs, though. We have to tweak it a little bit, making it easier to understand. And these docs are focused for intermediate developers, of course, but we know there are quite a few users out there willing to get their hands dirty. So we always try to make these docs as easy to read and follow as possible. And I guess later today, the 4.13 version I mentioned earlier might be approved for the beta testing using, again, these new jobs. So please help us figuring out anything not acting properly. Let us know about any bugs as soon as possible, because next Monday, if everything is working nicely, we're going to release it on production. And sadly, I'm going to plan 4.14 later today, so there's no sneak peek yet. So yeah, but that's it. Thank you.
Hugh, are you still using the Cycle for those jobs?
Yes. I mentioned earlier on some private group we have. GitHub Actions doesn't have this approval type of jobs, so everything will be triggered to TestFlight and Google Play Beta, and I don't know. I think we shouldn't do it.
Now it does. It was what I was mentioned before. Like it's manual. You can trigger those actions manually.
Yeah. I just knew that.
Yeah, pretty cool. I need to test that, or I understood that wrong, but I think that's the case. They released a new way to see the flow of the jobs as well, and that's pretty nice.
And do they have commands and some of executors so you can refactor your code in a way you can reuse some functions, or not?
They didn't have. Maybe now they have, but I don't know.
It's still YAML and everything is gonna look really bad. But if you can refactor and reuse some code, it would be awesome.
We had to repeat some part of the codes.
Yeah.
The code. Formally. But that's a good thing to search if they fixed that issue already. Q. And last one, Omnichannel. So, Murtaza, what are the news there?
Sure. All right. So I will start the integrations first. So biggest highlight over there is the Salesforce app has been published to marketplace, and with this first version of Salesforce, the agents will be able to create and update contacts, cases, and view activities from the Rocket.Chat itself. And yeah, that's the Salesforce app. That's from integration side. And next update regarding omnichannel directory. So there was an fix in the enterprise version. There was a bug in the enterprise version which we have fixed this week, and it was related to department form. It was not storing the list of departments allowed of the list of departments allowed for forwarding. No, it was a multi-select option, and it was just storing the first uh, department. So yeah, that bug is fixed. And regarding omnichannel directory, we have added new features over there. Some features are like viewing a specific contact and editing a specific contact, and handling custom fields within the within the context. So yeah, that's the major highlight from major highlight from this week. And the next steps which we are going to work on is the 360 dialog. We are going to uh, improve the 360 dialog app to send template messages to WhatsApp end users. So yeah, the template message will be like two types. We can send it via an endpoint in our app, and also via the agents will also be able to select the template message and send it uh, by themselves. And the next feature which we are going to add in this message in this 360 dialog app is to identify if a sessions has been expired. So the thing is, WhatsApp has a session limit that of 24 hours. So within 24 hours, if the if the user doesn't send a message, the session is expired, and whatever message which the agent will send to the user won't be received by the user. So we need to provide some sort of interface to the agent that does that the session has been expired, and that is what we are going to provide in this next update. And next is the ability to receive message status notification. For example, in WhatsApp we have uh, a feature of some blue ticks, what we call it. So if the message has been read by the user, if the message has been delivered to the user, or if it has been delivered to the server, so we will have this feature. We will send a request to the endpoint which the user provides in the setting, and uh, where the user will be able to read those kind of updates. And yeah, that's the updates
Cool,
from
thank you,
omnichannel
and
side.
welcome again. I have one question regarding the items you mentioned. Like, it's not a question, but more a comment. I didn't know that there was a session on the WhatsApp. I knew that it was like a 24 hours to answer, but I knew that you need to pay after that 24 hours to answer. You can answer for free in 24 hours, but I didn't know you need to open a new session. I was like thinking that it was like automatically charged by WhatsApp in some way in your account. So it's more complex than that, right? You don't have that session. You need to open a new session, and that session actively open from the Rocket.Chat side. Then we will pay for the message sent, right? You're muted, I think. We cannot hear.
He is not, but there is something awkward for you.
Are you muted, Murtaza?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now yes.
Yeah, as I was saying, yeah, you are correct. The way currently, after 24 hours, once the session is expired, the only way we can initiate a session is via sending a template message. And sending a template message is a paid feature which WhatsApp provides. And yeah, that's correct.
Cool. Yeah, that makes more sense now than what I was thinking. Nice. Thank you. So I guess nice to mention again the job openings we have. We have some for the mobile, the backend team. I guess for the cloud team, you have the infrastructure positions open, like 3 positions for the infrastructure team, and maybe more on the other areas. So check out jobs.rocket.chat for any more information on that. And thank you all for listening to this weekly podcast. This podcast is available as video on YouTube and audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and others. And thanks for the Rocket.Chat's engineer team to make this possible. And see you all on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
See you.